Okay, so basically I just wanted to do another video. This is something that's been kind of on my mind now for a while, a couple of weeks, and I've been meaning to do a video on it for the last couple of weeks, but it's not got around to it. And I watched one by 3 Kilobytes. I think it was on, I can't remember what day it was now, Saturday maybe, Sunday. Basically they was talking about, DLC, and I think they specifically went on about the state of patches, basically how companies tend to release games unfinished nowadays and then say, oh well, it's alright, we'll release it and patch it later. And I wanted to do a response video, but just didn't have the time to do one. But as I said, I've been thinking about issues like this in current gen gaming for quite a few weeks. In fact, it's been something that's been on my mind now for quite a long time, probably over a year, because let's face it, these issues have been around for a while now. And there's 3 things I specifically want to talk about. 1 is patches, 2 is DLC, and 3 is passcodes. But first of all, I just want to touch upon the DRM thing that has been around for quite some time, especially on the PC. And there is a point to this video, and you'll probably see some of that point in the title of this video, but just bear with me. So first I just want to touch upon DRM, because on the consoles we don't kind of have those issues. It seems to be going the way of passcodes and all that palaver. And I'm not really a PC gamer, and I've only ever had one experience of the whole DRM issue when it comes to PC gaming. So I'm not really a PC gamer, so I don't know whether the DRM issue is still around. I don't know whether it's still going on, or whether it's kind of died down now in favour of like the whole passcode thing. So I don't know, but I just want to talk about my experience with DRM first, and how that made me feel about playing PC games basically. So way back in 2007-8, I was doing some shopping, and in the bargain bin there was some budget released PC games. Now these weren't super old games, these were I don't know, a couple of years old, and they had been budget released and was in the bargain bin for a couple of quid. And I hadn't got a PS2 at the time, had my 360, didn't have an original Xbox, and in there was Brothers in Arms Road Hill 30, and not having a PS2 or an original Xbox, and because the 360 couldn't do the whole backwards compatible things with a lot of the games, I thought, oh, I'll pick that up, my gaming PC can play that. Well, my PC could play that. The recommended settings was well within the limit of my rig. So I thought, yeah, I'll pick it up and check out the PC version of the game. Now, there wasn't much between the PS2 version and the Xbox version, graphically and everything, and gameplay wise. In fact, there's no difference whatsoever. The difference between the PS2 and the Xbox version was in the frame rates. The Xbox version had a better frame rate, and it was a lot smoother game than the PS2 version, and that was the only difference. So I thought, well, maybe the PC version, obviously it's going to run better than the PS2 version, and I'd expect it to look quite a lot better as well, because it's on the PC. So I bought it, excitedly got home, stuck it in my PC, and to cut a long story short, I wasn't connected to the internet, but I just stuck it in my PC, went to install it as you do with PC games onto the hard drive, and a message popped up, oh, you have to be connected to the internet to install this game onto the hard drive. and to be able to play it. And I went fucking mad. I couldn't not understand why I had to be connected to the internet to install Brothers in Arms to my hard drive to play the game. Why? What has the internet got to do, and being connected to the internet got to do with me being able to play my game, my single player game, on my computer? So that pissed me off. So anyway, I went through the whole rigmarole of connected up to the internet, and went through the installation process and the registration process, and then it said, okay, you've used one of your 3 installs, you have 2 remaining left. And I was just like, what is this? I have 3 installs and I've used 1 and I have 2 remaining left. What is all this about? This has nothing to do with me wanting to play this game and install it onto my computer and play the single player. Why the hell do A, I have to be connected to the internet, and B, be restricted to 3 installs of this game? I paid for this game. Granted, I haven't paid much for the game. It was a budget. The budget released it. It was only a couple of quid, but I paid for this game. It's single player, and if I want to play it offline, and if I want to install it and uninstall it, you know, as many fucking times as I want, that's my prerogative. Yeah, I was being restricted to having to be on the internet to install the game, and having to, you know, be restricted to free installs of the game. That really, you know what? In the end, I only played Brothers in Arms for about half an hour, and that was it, because I really wanted to play the game, but that soured the experience. I was like, I just could not understand it. I could not get my head around why they was implementing that. It was totally alien to me. I've not come across that before. I still haven't come across it because I refused to buy any brand new PC games after that. Of course, I bought some I have bought PC games, but they're old, you know, PC DOS games since I bought that Brothers in Arms game. But I've never bought, you know, a current gen or fairly recent gen PC game because of the DRM issues. And to me, it was just totally alien. Why should I have to be connected to the internet? Why should I be restricted to so many installers? I paid for the game, it's mine. I can fucking install it as many times as I want, you know? So in the end, I only played the game for half an hour and I uninstalled it, and I thought, fuck that, you know? Screw that. I'm not, you know, I couldn't enjoy the game after that. I was trying to play it, but I only lasted half an hour. I could not enjoy it because that had soured my experience. That had soured my excitement for the game. By the time I'd gone through all that rigmarole and found out that there was all these fucking restrictions in place for a game that I paid my own money for, I did not want to play it. It put me off playing that game. But more to the point, it put me off buying more PC games. So I was quite willing to buy PC games at the time, as long as they could work on my rig. But after that, you know, I thought, unless it's some super old, you know, DOS game, forget it. You know, just forget it. I don't want to have that. I don't want to be restricted. I'm not going to pay money for a game and then be told, you know, there's all these restrictions and I can't do this and I can't do that, and I only can play it a certain amount of times. Screw that, man. I'm not wasting my money on a game that I can't do what I want with it, you know, within reason, you know, sell it on or install it as many times as I want, play it as many times as I want. So, you know, I'm not sure whether DRM is still around and those issues are still present in today's gaming, but that's something that really soured my gaming experience with PC games, and I haven't bought, like I said, a current or near current gen PC title ever since then, basically. And things like that, they don't empower the gamer. They don't make the gamers feel good. They make the gamers feel like they've been cheated. And even if you're not a gamer, it doesn't matter who you are or where you are or for what product it is in this world. If you feel like you've been cheated, is that consumer going to go back for more, or is he or she going to stay away and go, no, I feel like I've been cheated. I ain't going to go back to that. Yet, these gaming companies think, they're protecting themselves, and yet gamers are still going to go for these games, yet all they're doing is putting people off. Now, the other thing I wanted to talk about is, because recently, actually for quite a long time, my current gen gaming experience, I feel like it's been soured. And that's due to the DLC. It's due to all this passcode stuff, and it's due to all these, release the game finished and patch it later. It's those three things that, at least for the last year or more, no, probably for the past year, more and more it started to get on my nerves, and more it started to sour my current gen gaming experience. If anything, it's putting me off buying current gen games now more than ever. The perfect example I'm going to use is Gears of War, and this I'm going to talk about now DLC. First of all, Gears of War, I bought it day one. It cost me 50 odd quid. I bought the limited edition game of it. Really excited for Gears of War. Brilliant game. I wholeheartedly recommend the game, and people go out and buy it and enjoy it. It's an amazing game. Horde mode, the online mode, the single play is balls to the walls, action all the way through. Best Gears of War game. It's just absolutely phenomenal, the amount of passion they put into that game. But what pissed me off about that game is day one, I got home, I installed the game to the hard drive, and once it installed to the hard drive, as I usually do every week, I went and checked, what new releases have come to Xbox Live Arcade, the indie games section, and I happened to have a look at the DLC section as well. And for as far as the eye could see, all there was DLC for Gears of War. Day fucking one, there was, and I kept pressing right, going all the way down through all the DLC that had been released, and it was Gears of War, Gears of War, Gears of War, Gears of War, Gears of War. And I just thought, this is day one. And you just know, and I just knew, that most, if not all of that DLC was on the disc. And all that DLC, it wasn't actually DLC, you was buying passcodes to unlock DLC that was on the disc. So basically, I'd gone out, spent 50 quid on a game, only to get home and find that stuff that's on that disc has been restricted. I paid 50 odd quid for a game, and the content on that game, on that disc that I paid good money for, is being restricted from me. And the companies, the publisher, the developer, are asking me to fork out more for content that's on that disc that they're restricting me access to. And that made me feel like I've been cheated, and that was day one. And I don't think that's acceptable. I really don't feel that's acceptable, and that kind of soured that day for me. I enjoyed the game, I enjoyed it immensely. It's an amazing game. I got well into it, I still love the game, it's amazing, and I recommend it to anyone. But that kind of had a sour, disheartening kind of feeling to me. Why am I paying 50 odd quid, and especially when I bought the limited edition version, why am I then being restricted access to content that's on that disc? Why am I being asked for more money on day one for content that's on that disc? But more to the point, there was this other DLC, and it was like, buy this 33% reduced offer for 4 sets of DLC that's going to be coming throughout the year, and if you buy it now, then you get it 33% cheaper. So on day one, they was even asking me to buy DLC that wasn't even out yet at a reduced price, but yet was still going to cost an extra 25 quid. And that was day fucking one of that game. I don't think that's acceptable at all. You know, I'm trying to think of the word that I feel when things like that happen, and it's disheartening. It's discouraging more than anything, especially when knowing that I bought a game on day one and there's content on that disc that I'm being denied access to. Yeah, I've paid for that disc. I've paid for that content. Yeah, they're asking me to pay more money for stuff that's on that disc that I've paid full price for. Is that fair? Does that sound fair to you? Because it doesn't to me. That sounds to me like I'm being cheated. And that's what I find really disheartening about current gen, the state of current gen. I feel like I'm trying to think of the word. I feel put off. I feel like I'm being pushed away from current gen at the moment. I don't feel like it's I don't feel the hunger for it that I once did, and that is down to practices like this with the DLC. I'm still trying to think of the word that to fully describe how I feel. That's it. I feel disenchanted with current gen at the moment because of these practices. I feel disenchanted. Okay, now I'm going to talk about passcodes. Now I just want to make this point, I have bought Battlefield 3. Battlefield 3 does come with an online passcode. So basically, if you buy it brand new, you'll get access to the online multiplayer. But if you buy it pre-owned, that means you have to buy a passcode which will give you access to the multiplayer. Now, really, if I'm going to go for a multiplayer game, I tend to buy it brand new anyway, like I have done with Battlefield 3. So I'm not so bothered if this passcode stuff, sticks to the online. If it's passcodes to the online stuff, although I don't fully accept that that's the way to go, but I'd rather it stick just to the online component of the games rather than the single player elements of the games. Those passcodes should only, if anything, restrict the multiplayer aspect. But I don't agree with it, and the arguments for doing so isn't right either. The fact that these, and I've heard other people explain this away as well, that when someone buys one of these games brand new, they're paying for that place on the server, on the multiplayer server, so they've paid for that place. So when they get rid of that game and someone buys that game pre-owned, all they're doing is taking that person's place on the server. That place isn't costing the company any more money because that place has already been paid for. You're just swapping that place from one person to another. So I don't see that the argument that they use for passcodes is viable, really. And same with saying they need passcodes to stop pre-owned, the pre-owned market is bullshit. The pre-owned market's been there since day one of gaming. I remember as a little kid going to shops and buying pre-owned games, swapping games, trading games. It's been there since day one. And surely, if the pre-owned market's been there since day one, and we're, it's over 30 years or whatever, surely if it was going to kill off gaming, in the gaming industry, it would have done it a long time ago. So again, that reason for it is bullshit. Okay, so the one thing that's pissed me off now as well is that I don't want this passcodes to go into single players. I don't want single player games being restricted by passcodes. That is so wrong, yet it's happened. And that's why I refuse to buy Batman Arkham City. Now I know Batman Arkham City is an amazing game, I know everyone's saying it's an amazing game, you've got to buy it, but I refuse to buy that game because if you buy that game brand new, you get access to the Catwoman part to the single player. If you buy it pre-owned, you have to pay for a passcode to get access to that part of the single player. Yet that single player part is on the disc, for fuck's sake. And that's not an online element to the game, that's a single player element. So already this passcode stuff is being put onto single player games. And again, that makes me feel disenchanted because I can see where that's going and I don't like it. You know? I just don't like it. I just don't see why it has to go that way, but I can see it going that way. You know, and that puts me off. That puts me right off. Now I'm not saying any of these games that do any of this stuff is bad. You know, they're amazing games. Battlefield 3, amazing game. It's different to Bad Company, it's a different style, you know, but it's an amazing game. Gears of War, amazing game. Batman Arkham City, you know, granted, I haven't played it, but everyone says it's amazing, and I would recommend people buy these games. But it's the practices around these games that is putting me off and making me feel not so hungry for the current gen or next gen that I once was. The last thing I want to talk about is release a game unfinished and patch it later. Now this is happening a lot these days, and I'm not saying that old games didn't have bugs and glitches in them. I've got a game called Croc for the Sega Saturn, and that's got a major bug in it. Basically, if you put the game in, if you put the game in the machine in the Sega Saturn and turn it on, then Croc is missing his head, and that's what I did when I first bought the game, and I thought it's because of the scratches on the disc. I thought the disc was damaged, but then I read online that you have to turn on the Saturn so it boots into the BIOS, into the system settings, and then put the game in and boot the game up from that way, and then the Croc's head will restore. So it's not like bugs and glitches haven't been in games, and it is good that nowadays that if there is any bugs and glitches in games, they can be fixed. But it's getting really obvious that games are being released unfinished and then patched later. And I think a really good example of this is Battlefield 3. Now that game clearly was rushed out to get it out before Call of Duty. It was so obvious that they rushed that game out before Call of Duty, and as such it has got bugs and glitches in it. And then even day one, when I bought that game home, day one, there was something like 160 megabyte patch for that game that I had to install. So I had to install the game, I had to download the 160 megabyte patch or whatever it was, and then install the the high definitions pack. So from day one, I mean, they released that game, they rushed it out. I mean, that 160 megabyte patch should have been on the disc. They should have worked it into the code on the disc and then released the game, but you can tell that they just rushed it out. If that patch was ready on day one for people to download, it's obvious they rushed the game out to get it out before Call of Duty and then, release the patch as a download. I don't like that practice at all. I don't think it should be happening. If a game needs to be patched, then you hold off. You hold off and you work the patches into the game code and then you release the game. Gamers would rather have a game that's fully complete and doesn't need any patches than one that's going to be released unfinished and patched later. A good example of this is I played, if you look at Halo Reach, I don't think, the last time I played it, which, I can't remember how long ago that was, but it was a fair while after it was released, it still hasn't had a patch. Does it even need a patch? I haven't come across. I don't think Halo Reach even needs a patch. They took their time with that game. and they released it when it was ready and when it was done. I think the problem here is developers and publishers these days are getting too caught up in all the other ways of making money from, you know, what they release, the game, rather than just focusing on the game itself. I think that's the problem. That's the thing that's kind of I think that's the thing that's kind of spoiling it for me a little. One thing I will say is, I know Nintendo made a few rash decisions, you know, of late. You know, like rushing out the Nintendo 3DS when they probably should have waited and stuck a second analog knob or whatever you want to call it on there. But at least they have the hindsight to realise that what you need to do is release a game and the focus be all on that game, rather than releasing a game and then putting so much effort into making new ways, making money just out of that single game. I mean, if you look at the likes of like Modern Warfare, Gears of War, just trying to think of some others off the top of my head. No, that's the only two I can think of at the moment. But if you look at those games, all the different ways of trying to make money through DLC and I mean, with Modern Warfare now you got that community thing that they've done, that they're charging money for, and it's not even working properly. So I think for me now, I'm just interested in playing modern games where the developers and the publishers just want to give you the core game, not anything else, not any other ways of monetizing that game, but just giving you that game itself, where they just focus on making a great game and releasing that game, rather than trying 101 different ways to make me spend more money on that game and try and just, you know, bleed my wallet dry, dare I say it. I just want to buy a game and that is it, you know, play it. I don't want to have to think, well, it's not that I have to think or buy it because I have to, you know, I have the freedom of choice. But I just don't like having a publisher release a product and then trying 101 different ways of trying to get more money out of me. I don't think that's very good practice, to be honest. And I don't like it, and that's kind of what I'm trying to say. I just want publishers just to release the game and just that's it, you know, rather than thinking, oh, we've got to increase our yearly revenue to please the shareholders by monetizing this game in 10 million new different ways that really just just totally unnecessary, and just all they do is distract you from the actual game itself and suck all the fucking enjoyment out of that one game. That's essentially what I'm trying to say, you know. So I think for me, although I feel a bit dissatisfied with current gen, I'm still going to carry on buying stuff, but I'm just going to be very, very picky about what I play and what I buy. So yeah, be good to know what other people think about this.